Greetings, fellow moviegoers. Today I review the final movie in the original Star Wars trilogy, Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to blow my goddamn head off right now. Because this movie is 2 hours and 16 minutes of complete trash! Let me explain why. Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi was released on May 25th, 1983 by 20th Century Fox and is the conclusion to the original Star Wars trilogy. The movie opens up with R2-D2 and C-3PO going to Jabba's palace to try to save Han. While there, they get captured and we're introduced to Jabba the Hutt, who is basically a representation of your average Star Wars fan. And here we're introduced to Jabba's minions, who are clearly just a bunch of puppets. Apparently Jim Henson was pulling George Lucas's strings during the making of this film. After this, we... yeah. Anyway, so that happens. We also see Princess Leia, who has infiltrated Jabba's palace in disguise, where she saves Han by unfreezing him, and they both get captured. Shortly after, we see Luke arrive at Jabba's palace, where he takes out the two guards and then talks to Jabba. While talking with Jabba, Luke manages to piss him off, which causes Jabba to drop Luke down into a pit, where he must fight the dreaded Rancor, who ends up being just another puppet. Oh, I see, yet another puppet for Luke to fight. Who's he gonna fight next in this movie? Fucking Big Bird? You know what, hold on, let me replace the music for this scene so it fits better with the special effects. After the Rancor fight, Luke and company are detained and taken to the dreaded Sarlacc pit. However, before Luke can be pushed in, R2-D2 finally gives Luke his lightsaber, which he apparently had the entire fucking time! Oh, give me a break. This entire sequence is just ridiculous. Why wouldn't Luke just bring his goddamn lightsaber to Jabba's palace? He's clearly willing to resort to violence, as seen in the scene where he kills the two guards, who, by the way, didn't even frisk him, so that defeats the entire goddamn purpose of not bringing his fucking lightsaber! Before they can truly escape, they must have one last epic confrontation. A showdown with the most feared bounty hunter in the galaxy, Boba Fett, who ends up just dying like a bitch! After Boba Fett dies, Luke and company finish off Jabba and his minions, and then they leave. Luke then flies to Dagobah, where Master Yoda takes a nap and dies. Obi-Wan's ghost then appears before Luke, telling him that he must confront Darth Vader. And he also tells him that Leia is his sister, which will undoubtedly cause Luke problems in all future relationships with women. Afterwards, we see the rebels making plans to destroy the Death Star. This seems vaguely familiar. After this, the rebels go to Endor, where Luke and Leia are involved in a completely pointless speeder chase, in which Leia falls off, and she is saved by... What the hell is this? I thought I was watching Star Wars, not an episode of the fucking Care Bears! After a bunch more bullshit happens, we finally reach the climax of the film. Han and crew try to destroy the deflector shield, while Lando leads the attack on the Death Star. At the same time, we see Luke finally confront Darth Vader and the Emperor, who strangely resembles my grandma. Luke battles with Darth Vader and finally defeats him. However, the Emperor steps in and uses Thunder Shock on Luke. Seeing this causes Darth Vader to finally return to the light side. He saves Luke by throwing the Emperor down a well. Afterwards, Luke finally has a touching reunion with his father, and then he dies. After this, the Death Star blows up, and Luke and company return to Endor. Oh, please give me a break. This is just ridiculous. Debris of that size would completely decimate the goddamn planet. I mean, look at Earth. We get hit with an asteroid, maybe 1/100th the size of that, and it wipes out 90% of the goddamn species on the planet! The final scenes of the film show Luke and his friends celebrating with the Care Bears, having finally defeated the Empire. In conclusion, Star Wars Episode 6 Return of the Jedi is the perfect send-off to this classic trilogy. It improves on everything the previous films had, including horrible special effects, terrible story writing, and enough puppets for a goddamn episode of Sesame Street. I give Star Wars Episode 6 0 stars, and the trilogy overall gets 0 stars as well. I recommend never seeing it. In fact, if you're out shopping and you see any of these films on sale, I recommend buying them and burning them immediately so no one else has to suffer through these terrible films.